Okay.
Great. So we're recording now. Thanks, Liz, for that. So I really perhaps ought to start with an introduction. For those that don't know me, I'm Pete Simcoe. I am the chair of the Acquired Deafblindness Network, working with my co-chairs, Liz Duncan and Femke, who were with us this afternoon too. And we're delighted to see you and to welcome you. Many of you have been members for a while. We also have some new members. You're welcome. I'm pleased to report that we now have over 400 members of our network, making us one of the largest networks in DBI. And that includes representation across all continents of the globe. So we're very delighted that we do that and have that membership. I'm also delighted on behalf of Femke, Liz and I to welcome you to the first webinar in our third series. I can't quite believe I'm saying this, that it's our third series of webinars now. The theme, Beyond Existence, Exploring and Living Life, recognizing that for all of us, deafblind people, non-deafblind people, there is more to life than mere existence. And we would want people to enjoy their lives, to live their lives. If I can just take this opportunity to remind people that it is being recorded. So if you're not happy about that, or if you wish to make a comment, please do bear in mind that it is being recorded, and that recording will be shared with all members. As I explained earlier to Ismael, I'm pleased there's such interest in his work, and we've had a few emails from members who, because of time zones and other commitments, can't make it, but are very keen to see that recording. So if you are listening to the recording now, you are equally welcome to the webinar. So our speaker is going to speak for around 30 minutes, 45 minutes. We'll then have a period for any questions of around 15, and then I'll bring the webinar to a close. So that really is enough from me, and I'm delighted to welcome and introduce our speaker, Dr. Ismael Byaruhanga. Ismael is a friend, colleague, and member of the Acquired Deafblindness Network. He's an audiologist and the executive director for the Center for Education and Community-Based Rehabilitation in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Ismael holds a postgraduate diploma in clinical audiology and public health otology from the University of Nairobi, a master's degree in special needs education and deafblindness from the University of Groningen, the Netherlands, a master's degree in education from Kenya University, and a master's degree in deafblindness from the University of Groningen. You're so well qualified, Ismael. I'm getting all your qualifications muddled up. And a PhD from the University of Cologne in Germany. Ismael has over 16 years experience with specialist skills in pediatric audiology, deafblind communication video analysis, and program implementation. And he's published in the Journal of Deafblind Studies on Communication and published within the Audiological Professional Press. Now, on the note of video analysis, Ismael has a couple of videos to share with us as part of the webinar today. Unfortunately, owing to technical difficulties, we cannot get the sound to work on those videos. So Ismael is going to show the videos, but will talk himself about what is happening in the videos, and we can watch it. So that's why there'll be no sound on the videos themselves. So Ismael, if I can hand over to you for your presentation, if you can share your screen and your PowerPoint slides, and we really look forward to hearing your presentation. Thanks so much, Ismael.
Thank you so much, Peter. Let me share immediately the presentation. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know whether you still see me or you cannot see me.
We can see you, Ismael. We can't see your presentation just yet.
You can't see the presentation?
No.
Let's go again to the how to share. Sorry for that again. We don't know what's happening. Something disconnected there. Share. You still can't see?
We can't see it just yet, Ismael. If you can click the green share screen button at the bottom and share your whole screen, that should do the trick.
Share again. Window. Are you there?
There we go. That's working now,
Thank you
Ismael.
so
So
much.
over to you. Thanks, Ismael.
Thank you so much, Peter, and thanks to everyone in this forum and this Zoom, the first webinar for this year. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to share with you a small experience in the DRC, especially with this family with Usher syndrome in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So many people don't know where Congo is. If we look at the geographical location, we are in at the center of Africa. Then people used to say, or they call the Democratic Republic of the Congo, also known as DRC, or just DR Congo, or Congo Kinshasa, or simply the Congo. So this is located in Central Africa. And also, you can remember the former Zaire during the Mobutu regime. And this is the second largest country in Africa with 26 provinces, area square of 2,345, and with 98.3 million population. So it's a huge country actually. So what has been, what's the situation on disability actually in general in the DRC? Actually right now we don't have data available on disability in general. And the Ministry of Health, the Community-Based Rehabilitation Division, has tried to develop some guidelines, some tools, and you can see this on the left side. This is a guidelines for rehabilitation, the service for physical hearing and visual impairment, which the document is available at the Ministry of Health. And on the right side, you can see they also tried to develop a manual on the training for the deaf and families. But okay, those are just tools. They have been developed, but they are no available data to know how many people, what's the percentage of people with disabilities in the DRC. Now, if you, for those who have used this World Report on Disability 2012, you'll see here the DRC, we don't have any data. The page or this part is empty compared to other countries where they have data on disability in general. So what has been done so far in hearing, let's say in the area of ear and hearing health, actually there are no literature available to determine the prevalence of disabling hearing loss in the DRC. But something little has been done in the area of vision. In 2015, there was a study, RAB, that is a rapid assessment of avoidable blindness. This study, the research study was done in our area here, actually, where I'm based. And if you can see, the prevalence of cataract was to 1.9 per thousand of population, though the target was 2.1, and also the severe low vision was 1.5, though the target was like 1.7, sorry. And for moderate low vision was 6.9, though the target was 7.8. But generally, this one is also a problem already to have 1.5 of people with severe low vision in the area. So, what about the deaf blindness? There's still no literature available to determine the prevalence of deaf blindness in the DRC. And looking at the global report on the situation of persons with deaf blindness, this report I think was released recently, 2020 or 20, the summary of it, 2023. So the percentage, we look at the prevalence of 0.2 to 2% of the total population. Now, looking at the size of the DRC and the population we have, 93 million, we are likely to say that we have about 1.9 million of people who might be having an issue with ear and eye, so you can say deaf blindness population. So this is a big, it's a big population. It's bigger than Zanzibar, that has around 1 million population. So what are the major causes and their connection? So if we look at the clinical perspective, the causes of deafness in the area or in Congo in general, we have presbycusis, that is due to aging. And I remember in the last week, this was discussed in one of the sorry the Zoom. I participated, and Professor Walter and others. I think they talked about this in more details. We have trauma, that's due to noise, proliferation of, we have a lot of mining industries in the area, churches, noise in the churches, etc. We have chronic otitis media, meningitis. We are, Congo, we are located in the meningitis belt that cross the Africa. We have ototoxicity. We have people under TB, lack of policies, etc. People are selling antibiotics all over the small pharmacies. We have malaria, especially the complication from quinine. We still have quinine in the protocol, and also genetic issues. So if we look also at the causes in the area of blindness, we have cataract. This is the major. We have glaucoma, that is the pressure in the eye. We have onchocerciasis, known as river blindness. We have trachoma, refractive errors, diabetic retinopathy. Also, diabetes or cataract can also can occur from diabetic. We have genetic, like retinitis pigmentosa, and traditional treatments, a lot of cornea ulcers we have. Now, to some of these things are connected, like when we have presbycusis, there's an aging issue, and most of these people here are older people. They are subjected to cataract problems, subjected, a lot of them have diabetics, we have trauma issues, and at that age also we have people with cataract, and also diabetes is there. So if we look at ototoxicity here, this is, we have a lot of population who are under medicine for TB and also IRV, and it's associated with diabetic. So there is really good connection in the two areas as well. So what's the current situation, or what is available now? As Peter mentioned earlier, I'm the Executive Director of Center for Education and Community-Based Rehabilitation. So in acronym here, CERBC, this is in French, Centre d'Éducation et de Réadaptation à Base Communautaire. So we work in 3 provinces in the northern part of the Congo. And these 3 provinces have a population of about 7 million. Now, if we estimate again, we look at the true percentage of the prevalence of deaf blindness. So we are likely to have in these 3 provinces 140,000 people who are likely to be deaf blind. So now, the current situation in the project now in CRBC, we have 12 people who are deaf blind, and those people have been identified in the small area where I am. So we have one family, so we put it like family 1 with 7 children, that is 100% of pregnancy from the firstborn to the lastborn. And the second family, this family has 6 children, then 3 are deafblind, and also their father is hard of hearing. Then we have another family with 1 child out of 4. So these are the population under like in our program at CERBC. So we had a quotient from this family. This is the family 1 and family 2 here. And you look at from the firstborn to the lastborn, who is here, this little girl. This picture is a little bit old, but these are the children from the family 1. And these are the 3 here are picture the children from family 2. Here is their father, and this is me, Ismael, when I tried to fix a hearing aid to the father's ear so that he can improve his hearing as well. So if we look at the family demographic data, we look at this family 1. So from the first child to the 7th, and they're all deaf and also severe low vision. And this one, the 3rd child is blind, we can say, because according to WHO, if you have can count fingers at 1 meter, you are considered blind. And severe low vision, the 4th child, and also the 6th one is also blind, and the 7th one. So surprisingly, there are 2 parents. They are hearing, and we have never seen anything related or any problem with vision, unless we go back and check right now. But now the current situation is something very special. Their mother has some mental disorder. We don't know whether this disorder is originated from the pressure or all of the stigma she's having from having 7 children in the area. We don't know, or there is something particular. Maybe one day we need to find out. So this is the family 2. We have 3 children. The 3rd one, the 4th, and the 5th. Just those one at the middle were having problems, hard of hearing, and also have low vision. But here also the father is hard of hearing. So nothing has been reported or from the mother. So we assume the mother is asymptomatic. So what has been studied so far? Peter mentioned some few article or publication we made. The first one was a study on the social construction of congenital deaf blindness in relation to education. So this study investigated the importance of social construction of congenital deaf blindness when we are planning special needs education. So it's it's very important for us maybe to know, because before we implement education program or any project, so we need to have a look or to know about how those people are considered in the society. What connotation are they given by the society? So the result was that the cause of congenital deaf blindness were attributed to culture and religious. So many people could say that, okay, this is a cause from the mother. Maybe the mother has done something when she was pregnant, or maybe she has faced some evil spirit when she went to fetch water at midday. A lot of things, or it's someone who died long time ago and then came back in this nature. And others could say, okay, fine, this is religious. God wanted these children to be like this. So the medical condition was not really understood, not recognized. No one could mention that this is something medically, or it has origin. Maybe medicine also has to do also with medical condition. No one thought about that. So we found that the culture and religion were really dominant factors on the social construction of the position of deaf-blind people in this community. And that led to misunderstanding and inappropriate service for them. So as they don't know, they have this big misunderstanding about their construction, their position. So it's very difficult now to plan for them, because they know this is God issue, God should solve, or this is a spiritual issue, the spirit should solve. So nothing else could be done. Now, the second study was just recently about it was a report on the COVID pandemic. We look at the best practice of the family member with deaf blindness, deaf blind children in those 7 children. So So the report was part of a focus group study on the observation of a family member, that's especially the uncle who was communicating or was giving, trying to educate them, the children, about COVID, different measures, and how they could wash their hands and all the hygienic practices during the COVID. So what we learned from this report was that having different strategies and communication ways to meet in interaction and create meaning on equal basis is the parents' responsibility. So we really show, we'll look at this in a short video, how the uncle was really active in communicating uh, um, prevention measures to the children. And also we say that communication partners should be creative and able to understand the communication space. Also, communication partners need to encourage interaction and terms for the successful transfer of information during a coaching process. So let's have a look at this short video. I would like to bring this a little bit back where the anchor started. Yep, I think somewhere here. So this is just to give us an idea how the uh, the anchor was trying to transfer the information to deaf blind people in this local community. They all of them have never gone any training. They have never in school. They are not trained in tactile sign, but this is how they are struggling to communicate, to transfer the knowledge at their level in the community. So I think there is also need to explore this communication. How do they transfer all of the cultural situation, all of the cultural basis to those children? So let's look at the second part of this, how the siblings are communicating also among them. So we can see how these children are communicating, and they have never been exposed to any educational program, but they have initiated or created their own language. When we try to when we try to show these videos to the parent and ask them, can they decode for us? Can they tell us what was this conversation? They were not able to tell us. And also, I brought the video. I showed the video to our teachers, who are teacher for the deaf. Say, can you try to describe or to give us the meaning? How do you describe this communication? No one was able to tell us what is this communication about. But we could relate the communication to the baby. They were talking about the sodas they were taking, or they were happy in the area where they were put in, because we put them somewhere in the big hall, and then we installed a camera at the corner, and they knew that no one was around. So they started their conversation. But when anyone comes in and they feel that there is a person around, they stop the communication. So what is unique in this family, in this situation in DRC? We all know that studies have shown that when both parents they carry the same mutation Usher syndrome gene, have a child, the risk is then around 20% with each pregnancy, meaning 1 in 4 chance of having a child who has Usher syndrome. Also, we know that studies on the genetic of Usher syndrome have recognized its heterogeneous nature. Here we mean that it's the Usher, the syndromes has itself diversity, and not like just in the same kind of its nature. It really has a lot of diversity. So in some African countries, we have clinical professionals have researched the identification of Usher syndrome causative mutation in only symptomatic families. We did have some reports about asymptomatic families. But also in a study by Peter, 3 families with either 2 or 3 siblings with hearing and visual loss were reported, and all were a product of a second cousin consanguineous union. But this is not the case for the families in DRC with 7 and 3 siblings, respectively, who are deafblind owing to Usher syndrome. Now, and no genetic studies or systematic clinical studies are reported in the DRC, resulting in a paucity of evidence-based responses to clinically relevant questions about Usher syndrome. So now, we think that no study has been done so far and has been reported a risk at the risk of 50 or 100% with each pregnancy. Now, we have this hypothesis that maybe there is a new form of Usher syndrome gene mutation with high chance of 50 and 100% of hereditary cases among asymptomatic and also symptomatic African descendant population. Because we have a lot of studies which have been carried out in other different countries, but sometimes I think in Africa we have some particularity, a lot of problems, and which remains silent without being explored. Now, the objective of trying to find out this, the clinical part aspect of it, we think that it's important to identify the genetic causes of deaf blindness in children in these 2 families, especially the 7 children from 1 family that account for 100% of the pregnancies, and the 3 out of 6 children from the second family, which accounts for 50% of pregnancies. And if possible, determine the presence of potential predominant new mutation, because we've said earlier, studies have shown that there are a lot of variations in the gene mutation. So probably maybe there is something different that could happen, or what is happening in African population. So if this is the case, we could also determine the nature, the natural history of the disease, and possible clinical intervention could be in from this. Now we also think of educational rehabilitation aspects. If it's possible to investigate which strategies and communication intervention parents have been used to offer support when their children's functional sight and hearing changes due to a progressive loss, because they are 7. How have they been like supporting the children from the firstborn to the lastborn? And also children among them want to look at determine the factor underlying the adaptive functioning of those affected. How do they cope with their daily life issues? How independent are they in the environment? And maybe this could help us to develop and adapt intervention support plan for this population, special population in the DRC. So we expect to have maybe the health and the clinical aspects, some outcome. This could promote health and prevent disease that can have excessive demand, because if the whole family as if there is a gene that could cause the whole family to be in this condition, I think this could provoke a big demand, a health demand in the society. And we look at also the education and reputation aspect. The findings will also inform the development of guidelines for assessment, intervention model, and the nature of communication for families with such kind of big population uh, of deaf-blind people. And also psychology aspect. The findings will be used to develop and design appropriate counseling because this look like it's a big trauma. It's a big stigma in the community for this family, and maybe this is why the mother is having uh, mental problems. We don't know. More investigation also needed for that aspect, and also for scientific interest. This could advance deaf-blindness knowledge to make informed decisions collectively or at individual level in the sector of health, education, and rehabilitation regarding people with deaf-blindness and their parent, especially in the remote areas or like the DRC. So thank you so much for listening.
Ismael, thank you very much for your presentation. It's very interesting, and I think your work is so important, both your research work and your practice. And it's so fascinating to hear about these two particular families and to hear about your hypothesis around the unique situation of this family. And it's really powerful to see the videos and the images of the family. So please pass on my thanks to the family for giving permission for that to be shared, because it really enriches the discussion when you can see the family. These are real people living their lives. So Ismael, I'd like to hand over now to members. Does anybody have any questions or comments that they'd like to share with Ismael following his presentation? Either please pop that in the chat, or if people want to just unmute themselves and ask a question, please do so.
Peter, Ismael, can you maybe stop sharing the screen so your
Okay.
people can be
Thanks,
seen?
Femke.
Mm-hmm.
They're perfect.
Yeah, is that okay? Mm-hmm.
Any questions for?
Yeah, maybe something I
Ismael?
didn't mention about the sorry, Peter. Yeah, about the connection. I know maybe the sometimes the connection is not okay. Maybe we do not hear me properly. So I apologize for that. Remember, we are in some remote area. The internet is not really perfect as yours in the other world. So I'm sorry for that if it happened.
No need to apologize, Ismael. There's technical difficulties we experience, so we completely understand. Does anybody have any questions they would like to ask Ismael? I do have a brief question, but I'd like to open that out to members first. Femke, you've got your hand up. Your real hand up,
Yeah,
not your virtual hand.
yeah. I it's the most easy way. Yeah, thank you so much, Ismael. When listening to you, I only start realizing how many different dimensions you bring together in your story and that come together in your work. And so one of my questions, but it's maybe way too soon. So it's the basic question is, please tell me some more, tell us some more, is about this interesting combination of data and a lack of data, but you now gathering data that is so important. And I realize often we have so much data and it's like, oh my God, so much data, but the value of data, that is what you show us today. But you also mentioned the stigma and that the causes of deafblindness also are to be thought of from cultural and religious reasons. Do you believe that the data as collected and to be collected can counter these beliefs, or do you think that there can be a bridge that combines those two. Because in my opinion, it's different languages. If you speak the language from a religious or a cultural cause, or the language of a medical data, it's difficult to make the languages communicate together. So I'm really curious to hear a little bit more about that from you.
Yeah. That is, Fimik, I think. Could you like again precise the question, because my connection, as I said, some words are missing. So you talked about the religious and the culture and the medical perspective.
So can you, for example, just to make a little bit more clear maybe what I mean, because those languages are so different, do you think that, for example, art can connect the knowledge that is gathered from the medical perspective and to bring it into the beliefs of religious and culture? So how are you bridging those different perspectives?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, should I respond to the question immediately, or I just pick them and then Peter, what do you think?
Yeah, if you could respond to Femke's question, that's great.
Yeah, thank you, Femke. I think there's still room for more awareness, but that awareness, we have to build it based on data as well. And this involves also the government, the ministry responsible for education or responsible for health. And right now they don't know anything about that, and they don't even think about having or data on that. But now also this is the responsibility of some of us, like organizations, because we are hands of the government to bring, look, government, there is this and this and this, and here there is a need. So having the data could be one of the way to talk about deaf blindness, and also bring the idea or connect it, as you say, or disconnect the belief from the religious and from culture to say, no, this is has also a medical condition. There is something that's related to this. And I think that will be something good. I remember I did this research also in the Uganda side, and one of the mother in Uganda who had twins who are deaf-blind, and she told us during the interview, she said she had this issue because she was forced to go for the planning family. So she had an injection, and she assumed that that injection had an issue, is the cause of these children. So uh, there is no connection. No one think about medical issues, etc. So they are still, the population is still really stuck on spiritual issues, cultural issues, and religious issues. And how do they reach there? When a child or a family discovers that they have a child who has a disability, let's go to this the example of this family of 7 children. When I approached them, the father said, this must be the situation thrown to him from another family where he had an issue. He pregnanted a lady from another family and he did not pay. Then he assumed that that family houses some ghost, some spiritual issue, and then he threw that family, as he did not pay anything to that family. So they throw that ghost, that spirit, to to kill the eyes and ears of his children, and that's how the connection is. But to convince the population to connect this, we need to have data, and also the government, the ministries, even including the church leaders, should understand this is not religious issues, this is not cultural issues, this is something connected to medical, and we need also to look at it in a medical way and the rehabilitation and education comes in as well.
Thanks, Ismael. Thanks for the question, Femke. We have a question in the chat, Ismael, from Mary. Thanks for your question, Mary. She asks, is there any established standard way of communication? I think you're asking, Mary, is there an established standard way of communication in relation to this particular family and the way that the family communicate with each other? But correct me if I'm wrong. So, Ishmael, is there a standard way of communication for this family? Families.
I think there are two. Yes, there are for. Let's come back first to the first family of 7 children. We have I have noticed there are two standard form of communication. First, between the children and their parents, you've seen a little bit. If when they want to like to communicate, the parents have to come close and touch and bring or pull the child or bring something closer, etc., and try to pull the attention. This is how parents they communicate with their children. But something surprisingly is the standard or the established communication among them, among the children now themselves. You have seen a little bit, and those children have never been to any exposed to any education or rehabilitation program. So they have their own way of communication. As I said earlier, when I showed this video of the sibling of the two siblings to their own parent, they were not able to decode. And also, I showed the same video to our teachers, they were not able also to decode. That means in the same family, children have their own special language communication, and also they have established a communication between a form of language of communication between them and their parents and the environment, actually.
Thanks, Ishmael. I wonder, just picking up on that, we saw on the video 2 siblings in this family. I don't know if this has been examined in any detail, but this language that's developed, is that shared between all 7 siblings? Or is it unique depending on who's talking to who? Or is it a shared thing across all 7 of them?
It's a shared across of the 7 because we had, okay, I just picked the 2 because it was more fluent, but this is the shared language among the 7, which is different from how they communicate with their parent. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's emerged amongst them. I wonder, Ishmael, sort of slightly away from that, my question about this family, I mean, it's so fascinating that all 7 children have Usher, like you've said, from a genetic point of view, that all pregnancy has led to 7 children with Usher syndrome. How did how and when this family came to your attention, I think, is what I'm asking. So the family, the center you work in, are working with this family. Did you know this family when they had one child with Usher, with deaf blindness through Usher syndrome, or did you get to know them when all 7 children had already been born? Where did the story begin?
Yeah, I actually know them when in 2013 when I came back from Nairobi, and yeah, we opened an audiology clinic. So we make a lot of noise in the community, so people could bring to me, or we during the outreach program, so that there is a ear specialist around, so people could come, and that's how I get to know them. And when they had already the 7 children, and the last born was at that time I think 4 years. And that's why we even advise them not to produce again.
So
But I
when you
think they
met them,
were 7.
they already had 7 children with Usher syndrome and had received no
Yes,
external
yes.
support at all. I mean,
No. Actually, they were from very,
wow, to
very
those
remote
parents.
areas where it's the conditions are very complicated.
Mm-hmm. And at what point were the children? At what point was it identified that the cause of the children's deaf blindness was Usher? When was that determined?
Yeah, That was in 2013. Immediately when I met them, so I had to bring the whole family in our clinic. So we did audiometric test. Also, we invited an ophthalmologist for the eye check. So that's when the ophthalmologist said this is retinitis pigmentosa. So, and that's how we
The
came
link
up
was
with
made.
this. Yeah.
It's very interesting. Any other questions or comments from people? Helen, I'm so glad you've been able to connect. I know you've had some technology difficulties too. It's lovely to meet you, not quite in person, but kind of in person. We've only had email contact before, so you're welcome. It's nice to see you. Any questions
Thank
or
you.
comments
Thank you.
anybody has? Any other questions?
I think it has been a nice presentation from Ismael, and what he has presented, I think, is almost similar with what we have in Zambia here. So it's recently when I learned about Usher syndrome. I recently did a training with one of the professors from the US that trained us in Usher syndrome. So I'm also trying to work on meeting families in Zambia that have children with Usher syndrome. And I have already identified one family that I'm looking forward to work with. So I think with time, I would also share what I'm going to do with them.
Great.
It has been a nice presentation.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Helen.
Helen from Zambia.
So, a last question from me, Ismael. But before I do, I
Yes.
see Liz has got a hand up, so I'm going to hand over to Liz. You have a question.
Hi, Ishmael. I was just wondering, what's the next stage in that theory about? Is this a subtype of Usher that is specific to Africa, specific to DRC? What happens next? Because I'm quite interested to know whether there is any work on pushing that forward.
Yeah, I discussed this issue. I remember with Walter in Quebec last year, because I'm still like trying to push this so that we have a clinical aspect of this situation, and also the education part of it. And not only for this family, that's why I was saying that what next is, yeah, I need people to join me in this so that we pull it together. We find out what is the clinical aspect here and what are the education also aspects we can tackle, so that we inform our audience and inform also the research world as well about this situation. Otherwise, it will remain unknown if we cannot make noise about this and find out what is exactly in this family and what happened, and are there other families the same, and if it's something different, a new mutation. So we have many African descent who have migrated in all over the countries in the continent. So some of them carrier of this gene as well somewhere there. So this has to be also identified, I think, or to research on. So I invite anyone who would like to join me in this, please. Let's try and find out what is happening and what will happen from this remote area in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Thank you.
Thanks, Ishmael. My last question's changed now because Liz just asked what I was thinking of asking, which was next steps. So, but apologies if you said this, but do the first family with 7 children, do they know, or are they in contact with the other family with the children? Are they in contact with each other or not?
Come again, Peter. Your connection
sorry.
is.
I wondered if the family with the 7 children, are they in contact with the other family, family 2, that have
No,
that they're not in
they are not
contact?
in contact. No,
Okay. I wondered if that was.
yeah.
Are they geographically distant or?
Yeah, they are in 2 different provinces. The first one is just at 100 kilometers from where we are based, and the second one is at around 250 kilometers.
Okay. I just wondered if
Yeah.
that was. Um,
They don't know each other.
no. Do they know of each other? Are they aware that there's this other family? Or, I mean, it's difficult from a clinical point of view, from a practice point of view, around confidentiality and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, but a sense of, we're not alone can sometimes be quite helpful. And I wondered if they were aware that, whilst they're in this very unique position that all of their children have Usher, they're not unique in the sense of, other people have Usher syndrome. It's that they're not completely on their own, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if you heard that last bit, Ishmael.
Hello, Peter?
Sorry, can you hear me, Ishmael?
Yes, now you're coming
Yeah.
clear. Yeah.
Sorry, I was just thinking it's helpful sometimes to know that you're not alone. That was all. But I think if there are no other questions, one thing that just struck me is, as many of you will know, a lot of my work, whilst initially I started on a journey researching deafblind people's vulnerability, where it led me was actually to consider deafblind people's coping and strengths. And not needs and risk and harm and that sort of thing. That's where I ended up. And I think if ever there was an illustration of managing and coping, it is a family with 7 members with Usher syndrome, who managed for quite some time, have developed a communication system and language, and didn't have any support from anyone else. So I think it's quite phenomenal, and acts as that illustration of coping and resilience in difficult times, really. And it's very moving, I think, to see the siblings having a conversation, laughing, enjoying the drinks together, without any external help. I'm not suggesting, of course, that us as professionals and practitioners can't assist people. That's not the point I'm making, but I think it is a really interesting example. So, Ishmael, thank you for spending time with us, for navigating the technological difficulties that we have with these online webinars. We have another comment in the chat. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Ismael. Votre présentation était très intéressant. Apologies for my poor French there. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ismael, but they're saying thank you very much. It was a very interesting presentation. So, and a comment from Joe. This has been very interesting. Thank you for spending that time with us. We will make the recording available to members as soon as we're able to, but I'd like to remind people that our next webinar will be taking place on the 27th of March, and our speakers are Carolina Cahoon, Jeremy Nathan Marks, and Mike Ingram. And the topic of that webinar is artificial intelligence and acquired deafblindness, and the ways in which people with acquired deafblindness are making use of artificial intelligence. So hopefully you'll be able to join us for that webinar on the 27th of March. And I'll send the link out and everything nearer the time. Ismael, we've had further thanks in the chat from Joe and from Sandra, and so I would add my own thanks to you, Ismael, for spending time with us this afternoon. And can I also thank Deafblind UK, the organisation in the UK, who provide us the Zoom link. We use the Zoom link license from Deafblind UK, which has made the webinars possible. So thanks to Deafblind UK for doing that. And huge thanks, of course, to members for joining the webinar this afternoon. It's always nice to see people joining and supporting our work in the network. So the last thing for me to do is wish you all a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening, wherever you are. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. One last thing that I shouldn't, it's because it's not on my list. If I don't write it down, I don't remember. I will be sending another email out. We have had a request from Deafblind International for all members about providing a quote in relation to your involvement with Deafblind International and the value that it has and brings. And the theme of this is me and Deafblind International. So they're really focusing on what does your membership of Deafblind International bring for you? What do you bring to it? It can be open, but I'll send an email out about that shortly. And if you're able to or wish to provide one of these quotations and values, then please do so. In my email, they very helpfully sent a couple of examples, so you can have a look at those. And this is really helping to raise the profile. So I'll stop talking now and wish you all a good afternoon. Thanks very much. Bye-bye now.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Huge thanks,
Thank
Ismael.
you.
Bye-bye.